Scrap silver. We know what spot price is, so theoretically we should know what this bar is worth. But markets and dealers and exchanges are very difficult animals to deal with, and a bar like this, which has got questionable purity at the best, is going to be a pretty hard thing to actually liquidate and sell. So what do we do with our scrap silver and our scrap gold? Can we buy it? Can we invest in it? And can we even sell it at the other end? Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Now today I want to talk a little bit about scrap silver and gold and the buyback prices that you might find quite disheartening if you contacted some of the We Buy Any Gold or even some of the big established dealers out there. I know I certainly was when I was looking to sell a batch of gold casting grain last year at quite how low some of the buyback prices were for gold. But what was more shocking was some of the buyback prices for scrap silver. So I want to talk about that today and why that is. And of course, it's just a commentary on this. It's not financial advice. I'm not telling you what the right or wrong avenue is to look to buy or sell your scrap silver or gold. So please do go and do your own research if you've got a bunch of scrap silver and gold to sell. Now, one of the byproducts of poured silver is a vast amount of this kind of junky scrap stuff. Now you can of course remelt it. Silver is silver, and often I do, and I will probably be doing a big batch of remelting of this stuff, but sometimes you'll find that it comes out at the other end with a whole bunch of this graphite still on it, and it pollutes the piece. And whilst this has got its own charm, this pyramid, it's most certainly one to go back in the pot and melt. And I chop the top off with some big bolt cuts so it fits back into the crucible. So it's just a real interesting concept to have this stuff and to keep accumulating all of this kind of scrap silver. So I did a bit of research out there. Certainly, it makes sense for anybody who's running a business with silver as their core material to have that kind of safety net, that contingency plan for a rainy day. What happens if I was incapacitated, unable to work anymore, and we've got kilos upon kilos of this silver casting grain. I nearly said gold casting grain, distracted by this petri dish of shiny down here. But I've got kilos upon kilos of this stuff, and I was always worried, if I drop dead, what's Mrs. BYB going to do with all of this stuff? How is she ever going to do it? So I was doing a lot of research at the time when we got started about how I could liquidate it all if needed. And the vast majority of dealers out there, bullion exchange shops, just won't touch this kind of stuff with a barge pole. Even the scrap stuff you see here, quite often as well, they won't take poured silver pieces, or if they do, it's going to be at a very low premium. The hallmarks certainly help. I have most certainly heard from a number of different sources that if a piece came in and it was hallmarked, they would be giving closer to spot price for it. But if I told you that some quotes that I had from dealers in London were as low as 70% of spot price for scrap silver, I think that would make you all balk at the prospect of a 40-50% swing in value from buying this stuff at a premium to selling at 70% under spot. Now, of course, there are pros and cons for that because you are liquidating everything all in one go. And if there is a bullion refinery or a repository that will take that much silver off you in one go, then that is obviously something to consider in an emergency. But it was not very good for me to kind of feel about that. So I did a bit more research. The best I could find at that particular time was Baird & Co. in the United Kingdom, who were offering well above 90%. I won't tell the exact number because I think it's going to be individual for each business and person, and I certainly rang them up and got a very competitive quote, certainly by the standards of all the others. Subsequent to that, though, I have found a few other sources through community members on the Silver Forum and various others that will pay pretty much spot price for scrap silver, maybe 98% of spot for silver, which is, of course, a really, really good price. But it does make me wonder why that is, because we have this concept of the spot price, and spot price, dictates how much something is worth in its raw weight of silver. So surely if you've got, 100 grams worth of silver, you know what it's worth, you know what you should be getting for it. So why do we bother having spot price if all of these dealers and exchanges and We Buy Any Gold shops won't actually buy it at those prices? And it's simply down to the fact that a lot of the stuff that you might say is scrap here, like this bar has got an interesting story which I'll tell in just a moment. But if you've got something like this here, no indications of purity at all on it, no hallmarks on it at all, any bullion buyer, any We Buy Any Gold, We Buy Any Silver shop has to spend time, money on testing it, whether they've got, XRF machines are very good for things like coins. Sigma machines are very good for coins. You can very quickly weed out fakes and impure pieces. But a big old chunky bar like this, not so much. Now, this has got an interesting story to it. One of the very first big lumps of silver that I bought when I was pouring silver for the first time, and I bought it off eBay, one of the worst places to buy silver. It was advertised as 999 silver. Got it in, and something didn't quite look right about it. I just stuck it in the safe and thought, well, I'll use it in a rainy day. At the time, I was still pouring with the casting grain. I was enjoying pouring with the casting grain, and I thought, well, it's a nice big lump of silver. I'll keep it, and I'll melt it down when I run out of silver casting grain. That day never came. I always bought more casting grain, and this bar of silver has always stood there, but it's not quite right. There's something about it which doesn't seem right, and I have my concerns over its purity. Now, I have done specific gravity tests on this, and it's not quite at that 3.9 silver grade, but it is a very strange shaped bar, and it's not the most accurate test to do. Could send it to the assay office for an assay report, but that's going to cost me a bunch of money. So you can see the problem here. If you're a gold or silver buyer and you're looking to purchase just a lump of silver like this, how do you guarantee its purity? I mean, for all I know, there could be a bloody lead core in the middle of this thing. And that's another reason why I don't want to melt it, because I don't want to melt it, mix it in with my stuff which I know is pure, that I have guarantees from the seller that I bought it from that it's pure. If this stuff fails an assay, I have recourse to go back and say to the person I bought it off, hey, look, the stuff you supplied is not so pure. This, bought off eBay 5 years ago, not so much. So this just represents to me a nice little lesson. I still think there's definitely silver content here. There's no doubt of it. How much is anybody's guess. Even if it's sterling silver, or if it's like 95% silver or 98% silver, it's still gained me some value as an item. I bought it off eBay for probably around about £14 an ounce or something like that. It's back in the heyday. So it's definitely worth more. But if I was to look to try and sell this right now, I know for a fact that the vast majority of dealers out there would not touch it with a barge pole. And the bullion exchange shop that would buy it off me would probably not be able to give me the spot price value for it, because they would have to probably melt it down and assay it to actually get a really good indication of what is in here, and that costs, of course, money. And therein lies the crux. You are looking at what the buyer at the other end has to do with a certain item to give it the price that they're going to give it to you at. And certain businesses out there will look to give cheap as chips prices for whatever they can buy, and it's a sad thing. But whenever you get recessions, or whenever you get hard times, you see all of these We Buy Any Gold shops coming up again. And now I've started to hear and see loads more on the telly and on the radio. We hear them nearly every single day right now on the radio. We Buy Any Gold. It's really easy to do. Just sign up now and we'll send you your free gold kit, and you can send your gold, and in 3 days we'll pay it out to you. And there's all of this wondrous sounding stuff, but they don't have I looked them up. I heard this company, I'm not going to name them here, but I looked them up online, and they don't advertise any buy prices, at least when you have places like Hatton Garden Metals or some of the other big We Buy Any Gold shops. They'll advertise what their buy prices are. So for a gold scrap ring like this, which is hallmarked 9-carat gold, you can quite easily find out what this is worth. And for me, I would never sell something like this to one of these places, because I haven't rung them up and checked, but I suspect that their buy prices are going to be considerably lower than potentially a lot of the other exchanges would be. Of course they are, because they're advertising on the telly, they're advertising on the radio. They have got huge overheads when it comes to that, so they need to work in as high a margin as possible. So if they buy this stuff at even as low as 80% below spot price, they'll then be able to turn it around to potentially even one of the dealers in London that I've got quotes from at much higher prices. And if they can make a 10%, 20% swing on an item within a couple of hours, then that is a really, really good return. And all it takes is having the bankroll to start with to get those customers to the door and to buy as much as you can and as often as you can. And it's really quite sad in a way, because we got this spot price, this mythical number that's out there, and you would say, yeah, surely, gold is worth gold, but actually in the raw form, the gold casting grain here, difficult to sell. And it's one of the reasons why I traded up the casting grain I had last year This is a new batch which I've subsequently had come in, but the gold casting grain was traded up for this grotty looking maple leaf that we see here, because the sad fact of the matter is this maple leaf will sell quite happily to any coin dealer or bullion exchange shop for spot, no questions asked. Well, questions of purity, they'll test it, but then, as soon as they can see and test that it's gold, they will buy it off me same day, money in the bank, job done. Gold casting grain, difficult. The bullion exchange that I found offered spot price for it. That's a great price, but to be honest, 98%, 99% spot is also achievable for this from most exchanges out there and big refineries. So loads of different kind of things and reasons why different grades of silver and gold will actually be worth less than spot. That doesn't make them worth less. If that makes sense. Worthless. It makes them worth less. So it's a very interesting concept, which I see a lot of people ignore, saying, well, silver is silver, gold is gold, it's still silver, it's still worth a certain amount in spot price. You've always got to consider that exit strategy, that exit medium by which you would look to actually release the locked up money within the metal. For an example here, I bought this sterling silver. It's actually a hollow sterling silver bangle here, bought it off the forum, and this is by no means in any way derogatory towards the person I bought it off. I bought it because I like the look of it. I thought it was kind of cool, kind of unique. I was going to feature it here on YouTube. It's not hallmarked. If we can get the camera to focus, it's going to be difficult to focus on this. It is stamped 925, and the seller that sold it, he very much is reputable in terms of knowing the purity, so I have no concerns or doubts about that. But if I now want to try and sell this, I have a lump of really difficult silver to sell. So it's kind of a thing that I will keep and just enjoy as a scrap piece of silver. Maybe, sadly, one day it'll end up in this box here. Oh, you can see that's off camera. Maybe one day it'll end up just going in this box here and off to the bullion exchange place, where I'll just trade it in, get some fiat currency cash and buy some more silver or buy some more gold, take that hit. And that's the sad fate for the vast majority of this scrap that you see in here, with maybe the exception that so a few of you coin fanatics might cringe at this, but there's a couple of coins in here which are just old stuff, which are just so dinged and dented and nasty looking that they're just melters for me. So they're in that melt pot. I might do an experiment and basically try and make my own silver casting grain. You can get rid of this graphite a lot of the time when I pour something that's all graphite ridden like this, and you get this has actually been cleaned. This graphite just comes up on the top of the bar, it floats on top of the silver. I have no doubt that if I pour and re-pour a couple of times, all of this dirty, horrible graphite that you see here will probably go away. But you see there's a lot of work that's gone in, a lot of time and energy and expense in graphite crucibles that will have been used to do that. And it's the question I have in my mind there is it worth doing it? Maybe it is. Who knows? Maybe I'll do it as a thought experiment and really see. But I did cash in a large batch of scrap silver last year, when you could still buy spot plus 10% silver casting grain from Europe, and it was a good exchange. I sold spot all this dirty, horrible stuff, exchanged it for cash, bought some more silver casting grain, which is nice, clean stuff, really good quality, high grade stuff, and that 10% swing was well worth it in terms of the time saved, the money saved, the expense, the hassle saved of melting and re-pouring silver shot for myself. So it's each to their own. I suppose it depends on the quantity that you've got and how much you've got. A lot of the bullion exchange shops won't also buy scrap silver unless you've got a certain amount of it as well. The one that I had is a 2 kilo minimum of scrap to send in. So interesting sort of thoughts to think about that, I think. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section about scrap silver. I do hear and see a lot of people talking about the scrap silver that they've got, whether it's junk silver in the form of coinage. That's an interesting one in its own right, because that has a better protection, I think, in terms of people can test it, verify it, see it. One of the problems with like gold casting grain here is how you're going to test every single individual granule. How are you going to verify that every single part of this is 909 fine gold? Or at least with coins, when they're less than pure silver or gold, you can test a coin. You can do the dimension test. It's easier to examine than 150 little tiny little granules of grain or thousands of silver granules. So that is most certainly the right way, I think, to look to buy scrap silver, rather than things like casting grain or bunged up old, stuff like this. I mean, I could probably sell this very happily on places like the Silver Forum for spot price or more. Again, it's about the time, the energy, the work. Maybe somebody would buy it for spot price. I don't know. What would they do with it? They probably end up having to melt it themselves. Or if they kept it for 10 years, again, they're going to be faced with the same problem down at the other end of the spectrum. How do they sell it? How do they get their money out of it? Is there going to be a dealer that even buys it? All of these kind of questions are things that you need to start thinking about and asking yourself if you are in the scrap silver or gold market. And if, like me, you've got a questionable scrap piece of silver that you don't really know what it is or what to do with it, then let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in that comment section. If you've enjoyed this video, put a thumbs up on it and share it around through your social media. That would be very helpful for everything that we do here. And if you're not subscribed to the channel and you have enjoyed this video, there's a very good chance that you'll enjoy videos that we have made or will make into the future. So hit that subscribe button, check out our playlists, and also hit the alarm bell if you want notifications of our videos. Otherwise, that is it from me. A big thank you to you all for watching. Have a fantastic week ahead, and we'll see you on the next video. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.